Come to me.
Viewers, welcome back to Belajar Fabric 2.0 key concepts tutorial. Today we are going to discuss about some terminologies that you should know before you start writing any application on Belajar Fabric. Okay, so we have covered the basic pretty much all basic things in our previous videos. In this video will be the last video where we'll discuss a little bit theory. You should understand some terminology that is we are going to use. Okay, when I say peer node, what does it means? When I say channel, what does it means? You should not need not to go back and search for what it is, right? So to make sure you all understand what is a peer node, what is a channel, what is an
Oops.
MSP, what is a CA server, we are going to discuss all these terminologies, maybe a quick understanding of each these terminologies that will help you to understand Hyperledger Fabric much better. Okay, so without any further delay, let's just jump into the concepts. Okay, so these are the list of items that we are going to discuss today. One is what is peer node. Second, what is an MSP. Third, what is consensus. Fourth, what is a channel. What is a chain code. What is level DB, couch DB, and what is SDK. Finally, what are Docker containers. Okay, so let's go through one by one. Number one, peer node. You should understand what is a peer node. Okay, when you build a network of multiple parties, which actually means everybody will actually run a system in their premises. Okay, so here is an example of a consortium of certain banks. So there is an ICICI bank, RBI and HDFC tried to form a consortium. So what happens is ICICI will actually run a server in their premise, and HDFC will run a server on their premises, and RBI will have their own server on in their premises, and each of the servers will be connected through a network, and whatever data exchange that is happening between these nodes will only happen within these nodes. Okay, this is called a consortium network, and each server represent here, okay, is called a node. Okay, so node, otherwise also called as a peer node. Okay, so these peer nodes can participate into many activities, such as it will store the ledger within it. It is also responsible for sending and receiving the messages. It is also responsible for giving consensus whenever a transaction has occurred. So when those peers who actually gives the consensus are called endorsing peers. Certain peers may exist in a network, but they need not to endorse also. So there are these different kinds of peers that exist in Hyperledger Fabric. So all just you have to know is, like, ICICI Bank runs a computer, and that computer is called a peer node, right? So this is a connected computer in the Hyperledger Fabric network. Just remember that, simple. And second thing, we know Hyperledger Fabric is a private permission network, which means security is very important. So how do we achieve security? We achieve security using the cryptographic methodology we discussed in our previous video. If you have not watched it, I highly recommend go watch it. What is PKI before you come here? So those certificate methodologies, what we are going to use here. Okay, there is a component called MSP in Hyperledger Fabric that makes sure the certificates are issued only to those members who are involved in a particular network. Okay, there is a clear definition of what is an organization, what is a peer members. So, for example, if there is an organization like ICICI Bank, they may have multiple peers within ICICI Bank also, and there'll be one pair that will be actually talking to the network, so things like that. So for in order to ensure only authorized person posts the transaction and only the authorized person receives the information, membership service provider ensure only the in order to there'll be waters who are recommend game that to know is like ICICI Bank runs a computer, and that computer is called a peer node, right? So this is a connected computer in the Hyperledger Fabric network. Just remember that, simple. And second thing, we know Hyperledger Fabric is a private permissioned network, which means security is very important. So how do we achieve security? We achieve security using the cryptographic methodology we discussed in our previous video. If you have not watched it, I highly recommend go watch it. What is PKI before you come here? So those certificate methodologies, what we are going to use here. Okay, there is a component called MSP in Hyperledger Fabric that makes sure the certificates are issued only to those members who are involved in a particular network. Okay, there is a clear definition of what is an organization, what is a peer members. So, for example, if there is an organization like ICICI Bank, they may have multiple peers within ICICI Bank also, and there'll be one pair that will be actually talking to the network, so things like that. So for in order to ensure only authorized person posts the transaction and only the authorized person receives the information, membership service provider ensures these security level access controls by using the certificates. Okay, so MSP uses X509 certificates. X509 is a standard, one of the standard, very popular standards for issuing certificates. So MSP uses the X509, and there is a list of folders names I've given in the diagram. You can see there is an admin cert, CA cert, key store, sign cert. These are different types of certificates that is actually required for an individual peer to communicate within a channel. So keep remember, MSP is the guy who's responsible for security in our network. All right. All right. So next thing is very important to understand what is a consensus. Consensus in usually in business, arena, people think that it is a person who sits there and gives clicks on OK button or I approve button to give consensus. No, it does not work that way. Consensus here represents in a very technical way, which means consensus is somewhat like an algorithm or a series steps of process that actually runs within every nodes in the network in order to ensure the data that is being distributed across these pairs are one and the same. Okay, so what happens in consensus mechanism is that whenever data is sent across all the pair nodes will talk to each other and they ensure that they all have the same data. Okay, for example, if data is uh, A, B, C, and every pair will discuss, talk to each other. What you got, I've got ABC, and what you got, you also got ABC. What about you? What about you? So something like that is what is happening under the hood. You will not know. You will not physically see what is happening, but that is exactly what is happening in the background to ensure the data that is being sent across is one and the same. Because there are chances sometimes your data may not reach to a particular pair, and there are chances that certain pairs will try to modify this data when it actually sends it to another pair. Okay, like somebody tries to hack it. So consensus is one responsible to make sure every peer node agrees upon one particular source of truth. Okay, so it is very important. Otherwise, this network, if there is no consensus, what happens is everybody will have different copies of data, because you will have a copy and another person will have another copy. He will do some modification and I will do my and some modification. And end of the day, someday we both will have totally different copies and we will not know which is actually the truth. Okay, so it is important to have a consensus in order to maintain the truth of your data. So make sure you understand consensus is very important. When it comes to Hyperledger Fabric, again, consensus is also a pluggable model. It supports many different types of consensus. Okay, there is a consensus called Solo, which is usually developed by used by the developers. It is not a real consensus actually. It is only for ease of use. And another one is Kafka based consensus. I'm sure you all know Kafka is a distributed queue or messaging service. So Hyperledger Fabric makes use of Kafka and Zookeeper to arrive at consensus, but this is kind of very rigid in nature. So they have now recently supported a consensus called Raft. It is much more interesting consensus algorithm.
Aku tidak semangat untuk melihat ini, mengerjakan ini saja. Harap freeport dekat malah orang rampung. Jam 4. Sesuk iki nopo? Semua. Iki nopo ta Kamis? Insyaallah. Complete a promise with a resolve and reject. A promise has three states: pending, fulfill, and reject. The promise you create in the last challenge is forever stuck in pending state because you did not add a way to complete the promise. The resolve and reject parameter given to the promise argument are used to do this. Resolve is when you want your promise to succeed, and reject is used when you want it to fail. These are methods that take an argument as seen below. Promise, resolve, reject. If condition here, resolve as reject. The example box use the string for the argument of this function, but it can be anything. Often it might be an object that you would use data from to put on your website or elsewhere. With the promise handle success and failure if response from server is true. Call it resolve. Method successfully complete the promise. Pass resolve a string. We got the data. If response is false, is reject. Is true. Nganone is true ini apa sama dengan true? Coba aja dulu. Jika juga. Sifat berarti ini. Nah, lah ngecek true nih ya. Sama dengan true dong. Get help man, get help. Piye nulis true nih? Lah kok ngono kuwi. Lah ini ngecek iki wis ngecek ngene iki wis seru to. Wah sinyalku elek. Fuck. Iya sih. Mau ngono. Fuck. Get help, get help. Ayo iki to. Loh, tak kurang login. Login sih. Sesi tak bu. Oh, sudah genotek ini. BC tong. Ah, mama ya. Mending BC kok. Pak, jel, kirim WA. Lah ngecek istru nih, iya anjir. Iki, turunnya gede. What the fuck, dude? Wah, ternyata elek ini omahe. Pas seneng aku. Iya, ngecek istru nih piye. Nek jawabane ngene, engko nek dikopas bener, ya wis mandek wae. Bener loh, aneh dikodekan kadang. Oh, istru iki ning kono, kayaknya ada. Ada hubungannya, dasar cewek. Stop it, get some help. Pak, aku pindah BCW ya, buat yuk lanjut live stream. Putih nih mama, sinyal lelek nih. Ya udahlah, kamu gitu kok. Handle fulfill promise with them. Promise must be true and server request. When you make a server request, it takes some about a time and it continue. Tol. Wah, ada nganunya, ada obennya. Mas Rashid ada obennya. Oh, yang mau obeng bisa donate 50.000 ya. What the fuck? You mix using then method. The then method is my promise, then result. Bejir. Oli ning ndi? Ning server request ki. Maksudnya ngelenanya. Wih, ada naik bot. Kok lama banget sih delaynya? 23 menit lagi keluar loh. Wah, asem. Saya edit. Nah, yo, tak main ya. Aduh. Emang input kurang bos, inputku mlebu lho ono mike takon. Wah, ngomong dia nih ngomong metu kok. Oh, but ya. Terus, nih, iya sih. Alah, aku mau pindah sih guys. Sorry guys, saya mau pindah tempat dulu. Thank you for watching fucking oops 26 minutes. I love you all. Anak